Hello, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Gamma Ray podcast. I'm Tim alongside Justin.
How's it going, everybody?
Okay, guys, and this week we are wrapping up our vampire series with Vampires Part 2.
Yeah.
There's a lot of info on this, man.
Oh, yeah, dude. I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this one is a little bit more of some history, I think, about where vampires, how they entered into our pop culture and stuff like that. And
yeah, this is definitely not. It's dark this time around.
It's everywhere now, man.
Yeah.
Vampires. I mean, I just watched Morbius, you know what I mean? Which is just like,
I liked it personally.
Okay. It was okay.
But that's because I liked Matt Smith. I've liked him ever since he was the Doctor.
Oh, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, I haven't reached that level of nerdom to know who all the doctors are.
Oh, if you want, I can give you a rundown of them all.
No, I think I'll be okay. I'll do some independent research on that when I reach the bottom.
The rock bottom
nerd. So, I mean, I think the one guy though stands above the rest as a person who is synonymous with vampires, right, throughout history.
Oh yeah,
and of course we're talking about Vlad Tempest or Vlad the Impaler or Vlad Dracula, you know, which I think it was he took that from his dad, I believe.
Yeah,
that was like his moniker.
Yeah, I think his father took that name when he joined the Order of the Dragon.
That's right. Yeah, that's correct. Yes,
with the church.
That's correct.
And they were fighting the Ottomans.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. We're not going to go into like a deep dive on Vlad because I think a lot of people probably know the gist of his story. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty well-known historical figure, dude. I mean, like you.
Yeah, he is, and an ugly motherfucker on top of it, from what I saw. Yeah. Which is always seems to be with anybody that's in power,
especially back then.
Yeah, I mean, he was born in Romania in 1428 AD, so this is fucking hella long time ago. Very long time ago. And he lived to 1476, 1477 ballpark.
Yeah, give or take.
Well, you know, records weren't that great back then. So I'm sure there's a lot of like, he might have been born around this time and he might have been killed around this time or died around this time. Because who knows? Who knows? And he was the ruler of, and there's no way I'm going to say this right, so forgive me, Wallachia?
I think it's Wallachia.
Wallachia?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Wallachia.
What a shitty name. It was a principality his father inherited.
Okay. I mean, it was in Romania, which that's where everything's going to take place. And the thing that I didn't really know starting out is that he's actually considered a hero in Romania.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's actually kind of strange, like, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, who he is as a person.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then just the stories about him, you're like, oh my God, this guy must have been like a tyrannical leader.
No, apparently not. Not to the Romanians, anyways.
Yeah, because, I mean, you hear his stories, man, you're like, God, this guy must have been an absolute monster.
Well, the thing you got to remember about Vlad, right, was that everything he did was to protect his country.
Right. That's fair.
He had to be so brutal and so just diabolical to the outside world.
Yeah.
Because when it came between the church and the Ottoman Empire, Romania was like a battleground.
Right.
Like either the church came through and took people and killed people as they were going to the Ottomans, or the Ottomans turned around and did the same exact thing.
Right.
So he had to put some fear in some leaders.
It's funny to me that you know so much about this, but like when we were talking last week about like stuff that your wife likes, like you had no idea what the information was.
Hey, you know, I pick and choose what I.
But you can talk about this in paragraphs.
Oh yeah, I go into a lot more detail than what we're going to today.
Right. I mean, so he was one of the most important rulers in Romanian history, which I don't know how many great Romanian leaders there are anyway. He's the only one I've ever heard of. And
as good as mine.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, though, during his reign, his enemies would consider him to be a brutal and deadly opponent, right? And that was probably due to, like if your army isn't that formidable or that large, you have to kind of strike fear somehow.
Yeah.
So being vicious is a good way of doing that.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, there was rumors, I guess not even rumors, it's history. When his armies would retreat, they'd leave behind bodies of the enemies staked along the way.
Yeah.
So they, as they were chasing them, they would just see like, oh, hey, there's John as they're marching by him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a good time if you went up against Vlad.
No, I mean, stories of his cruelty to prisoners was renowned, especially at the time. As you said, he would impale his enemies on large pikes, sometimes starting from the butt to the mouth. Like that's
there was
horrible.
Rumors of him doing it
slow too.
There's rumors of him turning the spike around, so you wouldn't get the sharp end shoved up your ass. You'd get the dull end shoved up your ass. It'll take even longer to kill.
Yeah, some of these
die from it.
Some of these folks took a couple days to die.
Yeah,
that's how horrific this was. I mean, I'd much rather at that time have just cut my fucking head off, man.
Yeah, stab me in the gut, something. At least I'll die faster than that.
That's a lot better than the alternative here. And it was a means to frighten enemy attackers or would-be attackers.
Yeah, because
man, country was we better small. We better win.
Or this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, or else this is gonna be really fucking bad. Like this is gonna be a really horrible, horrible torture. I mean, it was said that he was responsible for impaling over 20,000 people. 20,000.
Yeah. That's not a small number.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of dedication. That's dedication.
Super big number, man.
Dude, that is dedication.
There must have been no trees left.
Within 100 miles, every single one of them were cut down.
And to get, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, man, that is intense. 20,000 people impaled. He was also rumored to be responsible for killing 60,000 other people. I mean, granted, it's war.
Yeah, but war back then, it's not like they had millions of people on this side and millions of people on that side.
Right. So 60,000 is a large.
number. Dude, that's killing farmers, everything. When you run into a crap,
I think the city I live in has 60,000 people.
Yeah. he killed your entire city, essentially.
Correct. I mean, it's really, really, really bad, man. And to have that many, man, is just crazy. Can you imagine what that must have looked like?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
That's insane. Yeah, that's a level that
man, that
history hasn't seen stuff like that before.
Yeah, that must have been a sight. He was rumored, this is a lot of rumor, a lot of speculation here, right? Because of who knows if they're still
demonizing too. Yeah, you got
yeah, and it could have been some propaganda, some of the stories about him, But he was rumored to dine amongst the impaled enemies and then dip the bread that he was eating for dinner in their blood and then eat it. And I think that's where a lot of and I'm just speculating, but I would imagine that that's where the drinking blood aspect of a vampire might come from.
Yeah, kind of solidified him as a vampire.
Right.
Because he would do that with dignitaries. When somebody else's messenger or account or something like that would come to visit him,
right,
he would bring them out and he'd have a field of impaled bodies.
So there was one, I believe it was the Ottomans that, and I might just be paraphrasing, so it might not be totally accurate, this one, but that the couple of the messenger people showed up and they had their hats on that was part of their religion.
Yeah.
And because they wouldn't take it off out of respect, he nailed it to their skull.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing a story about that.
Yeah, that's in fucking tense.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, see,
that's really
just
intense.
that's another part of it, of just like he was setting the grounds of when you come here, you do as I say and when I say it.
Yeah, but that's kind of
Because
tyrannical
yeah, but he was only doing it, like I said,
to the
because
enemies.
if he didn't do it,
Yeah,
they would be they'd just be trampled over. Because that's the bad part about Romania
right.
was that they switched sides a lot during the wars between
Yeah.
the church and the Ottoman Empire. One year they'd favor the church, so they'd have to send their sons and their husbands to fight for the church.
Mm-hmm.
The next year they'd be working with the Ottomans,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd have to send their sons and their husbands to the Ottomans to fight.
Right.
So the only way for him to be able to really be like, no, this is done, is to do shit like this.
Right. I think it was Seinfeld that said the Ottoman Empire. What is this? An empire all about putting your feet up? He's so stupid. I don't know. It made me laugh when I first heard it, though. It made me think about this. So, there's a lot of fighting, a lot of battles, a fucking ton of people impaled. They're like,
Yep.
God, dude, the stink of that must have been like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, God, man.
And
and that's
100 people, in one little field rotting.
Dude, and there's the level of disease too that they didn't know about.
Yeah, they had no idea what the hell.
Oh my goodness, man. So he was captured in 1462 by Hungarians. And he was there for a while, I believe around 10 to 15 years. They had him captured. And he was released for some reason.
And he took back his principality.
Right. And then but he ended up dying in battle alongside Hungarians that captured him. But at that point, he made an alliance with them to fight the Ottomans because they were getting a little out of control.
Yeah.
And they were trying to take over everything at that point. So according to legend, again, because none of this is concrete, right? Stories being this old, that he was decapitated and had his head brought through the streets of Constantinople. And that is pretty common, I feel like they did back then. Because you hear about William Wallace and stuff, you know what I mean? Like they did.
They decapitate them and like put their head on a stick for their allies to see.
Right. And the enemies too.
Yeah.
So it's
I meant like the allies of the person they killed.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. And because of all these stories though, he became like this larger than life figure.
Yeah.
And again, some of this is like could have been true. Who knows? I mean, I don't think he was dipping his bread in blood. You know what I mean?
No,
I don't think he was doing that.
But like he wouldn't have been above putting that kind of stuff out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As here's what happens when you start fucking with us. I will literally drink your blood.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have some sort of like I'm a horrible monster propaganda, that's
blood drink is a pretty good one. Way to go.
Yeah. That's a pretty good one. Yeah, but because of all these stories and stuff, he became the main inspiration for Bram Stoker.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't know who Bram Stoker is, you should probably know that. Even if you're not into like the supernatural kind of stuff,
you don't have to read the book.
He's a pretty famous author.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You didn't even have to see the movie.
Oh no. Yeah, well, with Keanu Reeves and
but still, I mean, like you should know who that is.
Winona Ryder, I think, was in it.
Yeah, then I can't remember who else was
in it. It was Commissioner Gordon.
Oh, what the hell is his name?
Played him. I don't know.
I can't remember his name.
Al Pacino.
Oh. No. Al Pacino did not play Dracula.
Oh. Okay. I wasn't him.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Yes, that's right.
Jesus Christ, dude. Fucking Al Pacino. Like we got this brutal figure, right?
Mhm.
And obviously, we just talked about him, Bram Stoker, Irish writer,
Right.
set out to write a classic horror movie. A movie.
I don't think he was writing movies.
No, he was not. He was writing a novel
Right.
in 1897, known
If he was
as
if he was writing
Dracula.
movies in 1897, he's a fucking time traveler,
He was just way ahead of his time. Dude.
or
That's all
he's
it
like
was.
Nostradamus
Yeah,
or
he's,
something.
he's a visionary, is what.
They're gonna love this in 1995.
Yeah.
Good God.
No, but in 1897, though, he wrote Dracula.
Okay. Which
Story-
the name stems from Vlad
Yeah,
and the Order of the Dragon.
yeah. Now, funny note on this was that Bram actually, he was always going to have a count as his vampire.
Right.
He settled on Dracula before he even finished the title of the book.
Oh, really?
Before he finished writing it,
Right.
he settled on Dracula after hearing about his exploits and like reading about it.
Right.
So he was always going to be a count. It just so happened to be that
Right. And that's where
Dracula kind of he pulled the inspiration from Dracula after he heard about it.
is that where the Transylvania thing comes from too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I think just put that out there in case anyone didn't know about that.
Yeah. Dracula, based on a true story.
Yeah. In case anyone didn't know. No, this story though, man, it's told through various means, right?
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, you got diary entries, you got letters, and you got newspaper articles.
Yeah. See, like I am going to admit that I've never read the book.
Same here. I've seen the movie.
Never-
I've never
yeah.
read the book.
So I had
I
no idea that it
assumed-
was written like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I assumed it was
Like a
chronological. Yeah,
straightforward,
no,
kind of
like
not
a regular novel.
Regular,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know it was told through various different media.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, dude, this book has became the pinnacle of vampire lore.
For sure.
Is what made vampires as infamous as they are.
I mean,
Or at the very
It's
least,
not
it
even
set a
close.
strong foundation.
that's not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still the go-to.
Yeah, I mean, when you say name a vampire, the first one you're going to go to is Dracula. You're not going to go to Carmilla.
I don't even know who that is.
She's another famous vampire who's written about before Dracula was even written.
Oh, okay.
She's also like a pretty famous vampire in general. Like, have you ever watched or read the Vampire Hunter D?
Yeah.
She's in that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. She's like,
It's been a long, long time since I've seen it.
yeah, she's not as big as I think that maybe she should be.
Right. Yeah, because
But
I've
yeah,
never
she's
even heard
kind of
of her.
making an appearance here and there. Like, she's in the new Castlevania animated on Netflix.
Oh, really?
You haven't
Okay.
seen- yeah,
No, I haven't seen that either.
yeah. She was pretty badass in her own right too, honestly.
Right.
But the book Dracula, wasn't the first story to touch upon vampires, and that's
Okay.
vampire. Like last episode, we talked about vampires went back generations,
Thousands. Yeah, thousands of years.
hundreds of generations
Yeah.
before this ever came out.
Right.
So there's actually a couple, like there's some books, there's some poems there, and one of them came out in 1748.
Okay.
The poem written by Heinrich August Ossenfelder. Simply
Okay.
called,
Damn, that's a mouthful.
yeah,
That's a rough
I
name.
might be pronouncing that last one. I know it got Heinrich right,
You're right. Yeah.
but it was simply called Vampire. Right, pretty
At
straightforward.
least he kept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right in your face.
In this story, a man visits a woman who is rejected by him. Who rejected him? Sorry, who rejected
Okay.
him? And in the
I
night,
can relate.
I think we all can. In the night, he comes to her to drink her blood and give
Right.
her the vampire's kiss.
Ooh.
So that would essentially, to me, like I read the poem, it kind of seems like he turned her into one.
As like revenge.
Yeah, because that's like, oh, you're gonna not okay. Well, here you go. Now
Right.
you're damned.
Right. That sounds like a dude.
Yeah, it sounds like a very dude thing to do.
Right.
It's not a very long poem.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to read, honestly.
A lot of this shit from these old timey plays and poems is tough to read. Like I just
It's
read the
the
War of the Worlds
yeah.
like a couple months ago, and from of course I've seen the movies and stuff, but reading it is a challenge. Some of these, because you don't understand some of the references and some of the
Well,
words
it's
they're
the time
using.
period.
Yeah, it's
It's
a rough read. It's like reading Shakespeare. It's fucking
especially the poem
tough.
was. I'm sure it makes more sense, and I think it came out in German. It was translated in English. Then again, you still got to understand, like, the word structure was different and the sentence structure, and
right.
yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to read.
Yeah, it's no fucking fun. Right.
Dude, later on though, right? In 1819, the vampire, right?
Okay.
Vampire with a Y.
Okay, I like that better. As I said before,
kinda like
I
it
do
better.
like it. I do like it better.
The vampire.
Vampire.
Yeah, vampire. It was written by a John William Pollard.
Okay.
Pollard. I don't know. And it's considered the first time that vampires were depicted as being romantic figures instead of just being a monster.
Great. So in 1819 is when the vampire was fucking ruined. Got it.
Yeah. This is the time frame when they go from being like the Nosferatu looking creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And they start becoming like aristocrats, and they start becoming more like Casanovas almost.
Yeah, like fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy pants.
Yeah, this is when they start like tracking individual people, not just killing indiscriminately.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then in 1845, this is actually cool. I didn't know about this until I started looking this up.
Right.
Was this thing called Varney the Vampire, which hilarious name.
Is it like a Saturday morning like kid show? Like, okay.
Written and released and was hailed as a landmark Victorian age Gothic horror story.
Like classical kind of vampire thinking.
Yeah.
Of what they were like and how they lived their lives and stuff.
Well, it was published in this stuff that was called Penny Dreadfuls.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they were like pamphlets and like short stories that were super gruesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I assume they cost
people loved them.
Yeah.
I'm assuming so.
Right.
The name. And people loved them back then.
They're cool. It's a cool name for like I'm gonna go pick up this week's Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they were actually, I didn't know, I've heard of Penny Dreadful before, but I didn't know that's what they were.
I knew it. I know the term from the show, Penny Dreadful.
Yeah, I've seen parts of the show, but I've never actually, I didn't know what it was about.
That's the only time I've ever heard the name. I had no idea that it was like this. Like it was like stories and stuff, which now, after learning this, the show's title makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. They were just like these little tiny stories that you can get it weekly or monthly. Right. I don't know when they.
I just thought it was some fucking British term that, as an American, I was never going to put an ounce of effort into understanding.
No, I don't.
I mean, not a single ounce. Not on. We're recording this on July 4th. I don't fucking think so.
Yeah.
I'm not looking up some British shit.
Fuck you, Britain. Hey?
Not today.
Not today.
You limey motherfuckers.
Anyways, dude, like getting out of the books though, right?
I'm just saying, if you look up English British shit on 4th of July, they win.
Get out of my country.
They win. They finally won.
They won. Dude, in 1820 though.
Okay.
The Vampire or Bride of the Isles was put on stage, and this was the first time that vampires were portrayed as sophisticated, light, and like an air of nobility to them.
Okay.
So this would have been the first time outside of the books, clearly.
Right.
where people could start seeing them as more than just monsters.
Okay. So they're like kind of piggybacking off each other.
Yeah.
Like 1819. Well, that was a book. Yeah, that was a book. So this
like,
is a
like I
play,
said,
right?
yeah. This
Okay.
was right on. Yeah, this was a play. Sorry, I should probably. This was like when people finally got to start, because not everyone could read back then either. Well, it's true.
Okay. Fucking sons of bitches.
It's not a lie.
God bless them.
But in more modern times, though, I mean, we're more used to works of like Anne Rice and
Right.
Lestat.
Lestat, sure. I think he's right up
that's-
there with Dracula as like the most famous fictional vampires.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe not now. Maybe like Morbius might be out there because people are, you know what I mean, horny for the superhero stuff. Blade.
Yeah, true. Blade.
Blade's up there. But
I
as
think
far as
though,
like literary,
if this would have been in the 90s, people probably would have said Lestat more than even Dracula. Because you had. I'm
That was
not
kind of the
entirely
pinnacle.
sure when Interview
was
with
the
the Vampire
pinnacle of-
came out.
that's
but
pinnacle. Yeah, when those books I think came out, or at least the movie,
yeah.
which I'm not going to hate on. I still like it. I said it last episode. I'll say it again. I enjoy Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, it's been a really long time since I've seen it. I'm definitely gonna have to go see it again.
Well, I'm not reading the fucking book. I can tell you that. So
No, I don't blame you at all. Yeah, and of course, that kind of is more the modern version of vampires now.
right, but it's still kind of Victorian in a way.
Yeah, because they're Victorian, like they're all dressed in Victorian era clothes,
Right.
like in the book and in the movie.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it didn't change that much. It's just more when they got to, I think it was the 80s when that book took place. Like when he was telling the story. I think it was in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't remember the time frame.
Yeah. I'm going off the movie because I've never read the book, and I'm going to admit that I have not read the book.
I don't plan on reading.
I've never held the book in my hands. I've never even seen
I didn't even know
it
it was a book. I knew it was a movie.
You didn't know it was a
like
book?
15 years before I knew it was a book.
Wow.
Like I never knew. I just assumed it was a damn movie, man. Went on with my life.
That is out of it. Okay. Throughout the ages, though, there have been many accounts of the vampire, right? And encounters with them. This is real life stories. Like these are things that are supposed to have happened, not in books, not in plays or poems, but real people, real situations.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. For instance, though, creatures that resemble the vampire, like we said earlier, reach far back as like ancient Greece and Egypt and Samaria and Babylonian, times where people were attacked in their sleep and drained of blood, right? Like your normal stereotypical MO of a vampire.
Yeah, pretty straightforward on that one.
So one of the more famous vampire cases involves, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now, it's clearly Russian names. So we're gonna give it the old college try. You know what I mean? And it involves the bodies of Milos Sakar and Peter Blagojevich.
Close enough, I would imagine.
Blagojevich.
Let's just call him Blago.
Right, from Serbia. Oh wait, that's not Russian. That's like, whoops.
Well,
that's Serbia. I don't know where that is, but
it's Russian. Let's just it's Russian.
All right. At the age of 62, Blagojevich was said to have died. Right, he passed on. But apparently he had come back to life and was asking his son for food, which God knows what kind of food that was, right? What he meant by food. It could have been a lot of things, The son refused, was like, no, you're supposed to be dead. I'm not going to give you shit.
Imagine they're freaked out.
Right. And then the son was found to be dead the following day. Right.
That is the MO for vampires back in the day.
Of killing family.
It's always family first.
Family first, right. And Peter had also said to return and attack some of the neighbors too, because they were found to be draining their blood. right?
Yeah. That's vampires
Mhm.
101.
Family,
Yeah,
neighbors,
family then spread out.
right? Starting with the neighbors. So another quick story though is that like an ex-soldier, he had turned into a farmer, right?
Yeah.
His name was also Milos, which is probably like John over there. It seems like a popular name. After he had allegedly been attacked by a vampire a bunch of years before he had died, he was like hanging on his
Yeah.
farm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He died, and then soon after, people in the surrounding area began to die as well. And it was believed that Milos had come back from the grave to kill and drink blood because of the vampire encounter that he had all those years before. Now,
Yeah. So
as an
it was
older
kind of like a
story,
sitting virus.
right, and
It was
as
just
far as an old story goes, again, there's no way to say did he get bit? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Was he scratched? Yeah.
There's no, yeah. I mean, there's no way to tell. You know what I mean? But it's a cool story
yeah.
that you know
They
that he
well,
got.
that's
You know,
back then too. I mean, like, you know,
well,
was he? Yeah. I lost my train of thought. Like, I don't know if I didn't see anything where it was like, if you were bit, you immediately became a vampire. It could have been that he got bit.
yeah,
They just didn't drain him of all of his blood, and then when he
right.
finally kicked the bucket,
Ah,
you know,
then
kind of like the
he turned into it.
zombie kind of situation.
Oh, okay. Like he
You
didn't
get
turn into
bit.
one until after he died.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. It just took a really long time to get there.
Right. I was there. Coming back to more like modern times though.
Yeah.
In 1984, right, we're going back a year after I was born. So fuck, the story's as old as I am. 9 people are found dead in the French Quarter of New Orleans, which of course they were, right? Because I think
Why not?
you think of vampires in America, first place you go is New Orleans. It is.
Yeah. Well,
It
New
is.
Orleans got a dark history, anyways. I mean, they got a
does.
lot of the
And I think this is
voodoo and the
probably
hoodoo
why.
and all that down there.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where a lot of these stories come from too. You know what I mean? Especially if it's the French Quarter. You know, it's clearly a story
I mean, the
in
French
Europe.
Quarter is like the most famous part of it.
Right. I mean, but I'm saying
Honestly.
like if the stories were taking place in Europe, it's only reasonable to think that the stories came along with them when they came over to America.
Oh
You know,
yeah, definitely.
those old wives' tale stories, you know. And so the parent and these people had their throats torn out.
I
All
see. I did
9.
not when we were researching it, I did not see anything.
Yeah.
Their throats getting ripped out though. Man,
Yeah,
that's insane.
yeah, the throats are torn completely out. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like your fancy, you know, 2 puncture marks on the neck,
No, it was
hoity-toity
animalistic.
fucking vampire.
Yeah.
You know, this was like savage, like a
Yeah.
beast, like an animal. You know what I mean? Like a predator. I think is a
Yeah,
good way of
An
putting it.
animal wouldn't attack 9 different people and rip their throats out.
Yeah, they wouldn't kill in the same way. I don't
No.
think. And then if it was just like an animal, I mean, somebody would out of the 9 people, somebody would have got out of there. I think. You
Yeah,
can't chase all 9 people at once.
Yeah, there's no way one animal killed that many people.
You're just like going different directions. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's not chasing each one of you down.
you got a 1 in 9 chance of getting out of there, or 8 out of 9 chance. He's only gonna go after one person, right?
Yeah,
And so like paramedics showed up and were immediately just like perplexed, dude. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Because all these people had their throats torn out, but there was no blood found on the site, on the crime scene. No blood at all.
yeah, that's that's a strange
Yeah,
occurrence. Like that's either they were killed somewhere else and dropped off,
right.
you know, or
Yeah, I mean, it was as if someone or something had sucked all the blood from the victims as they were like locked onto the throat, sucked all the blood out, and then, you know, when they released, it ripped the throat out with it. You know what I mean?
could
And it
be
was-
like to hide the puncture wounds, drain them all to just
Maybe a way of covering up your tracks, maybe.
yeah.
I mean, so it was believed by not, I mean, of course, probably not the police, You know what I mean?
No,
But by
probably not.
more people like you and me, that it was the work of a rogue vampire.
Which would make sense, I think. Like in terms, like especially down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super. There's a lot of people who are superstitious. All that. You see something like that happening.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah,
immediately
you're
lock it
thinking
into
a
one of those,
vampire went on a bender.
and you're in the place where a lot of those stories take place. A lot of like Interview with a Vampire was in New Orleans. A good part of it.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
thought it was set in New York.
No, it's New Orleans.
Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, never mind. It was no, it was New Orleans. Part of it was. I'm going back, you know what I mean, in a movie I've only seen a couple times, but I think it started there and then it ended there.
Oh,
Or no. That's not true. It might be. I don't know. Maybe.
it's been so long. I'm just gonna
I think it might be
I'm just
true.
gonna have to take your word for it.
Yeah, I think it might be true. But like again, it's kind of built into the culture of that area.
Yeah, the people
Like you
down
said,
there
like
are
the
definitely
hoodoo, the
more
voodoo,
prone.
the spirits, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
They're definitely more
vampires.
prone to believe in the supernatural than
Right. Absolutely. And it just fits, the vampire fits right in with that.
Oh, easily. You know
what I
With
mean?
all the other things that's happening down there,
Yeah.
probably wouldn't even surprise some people if vampires were in there too.
I wonder if they survived Katrina.
Probably.
Hmm.
Just getting your casket float along.
Yeah, can they swim?
Well, if you want to go back to the other one, no. The last episode.
Yeah, right. They can't. Oh, they can't cross running water.
Yeah. And Katrina would have been a fuck ton of running water.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, not to belittle what happened, but I'm just curious
No.
what happened to the vampires. Nothing, I guess.
Right.
I
No,
guess
they
they're
were
doing,
they were perfectly fine.
I guess they're doing just fine.
Not like they need to breathe. Just hang out in your crypt until
Yeah, that's true. Do they breathe? I don't know.
I would imagine not. Why would the dead need to breathe?
But they're undead.
Yeah, dead's dead in my opinion.
Maybe I don't have a firm grasp on the term undead. Maybe that's possible.
Well, I think that undead refers to a lot of shit. So
Yeah. that's
vampires
true.
are supposed to be like the top tier of the undead.
Yeah, because then you got your zombies that are
Yeah,
considered
you got
undead.
your zombies and your ghouls, and I think you might certain like spectral creatures too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like wraiths and stuff
Yeah.
are like undead.
Liches and shit like that.
Right.
Now you may be asking yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do I either kill, detect, or just plain get away from a vampire?
I was asking myself that.
Yeah. Good thing I brought it up then. There's a bunch of different ways this can be achieved.
Uh-huh.
Right. Some of the more popular ones, right, is like either a wooden stake through the heart
Right.
and this creature like once and for all.
That's
That's
the old Van Helsing.
approach. Exactly. And that goes back even as far back as vampire stories go.
The stake to the heart thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of the other ones that they're setting them on fire, which I think would work for practically anything, to be honest
Right.
with you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Along
Yeah.
with cutting its head off. Like I think those are two pretty surefire ways to kill fucking anything.
Right.
But let's say physical violence, it's not really your forte, right?
Right.
But you still want to go about fighting off the vampires. Which I don't know why you'd be a pacifist taking on vampires.
Because it's probably the smarter thing to do.
True.
If these things are ripping throats and shit
True.
out, man, I don't know if I'm
Something,
like
yeah, you gotta have something. to
fucking
protect.
let's go like hand to hand combat. Like that's fucking ridiculous. Doesn't seem like a good idea. And like
No,
any other stories you
especially 'cause
hear,
they're
they're always
supposed
like,
to be
yeah, like
tens
super,
of times stronger than
yeah, fucking super strong, super fast.
fast. Yeah,
I don't
have
know.
magic in certain
Yeah, they can fucking
stories.
hypnotize you and shit. You know what I mean? Like fuck
But-
no.
You could use religious objects to get the same effect.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
Some of the most commonly used ones, of course, are the crucifix.
Right. Which is super famous
Yeah.
in all the
A-
in anything that you watch. The cross is the way to go.
Oh, yeah. either a rosary or holy water.
It's
All work.
kind of like an exorcism.
Yeah, they all work essentially the same. The holy
Okay.
water is supposed to burn their skin.
Right.
you
Because
know.
they're like evil creatures, right?
They're the unholy. So,
Right.
and there's some places in Europe, dude. There's stories where you spread mustard seeds on your roof. Right.
Where do they get this shit? Like,
I-
where do you even get that idea? Like, you know what I heard? You put a fucking mustard seeds in your roof and keep these fuckers out.
Yeah.
How do you?
Well,
Was it just like
stems
a last ditch
from-
effort to keep them away? Like you just tried? It was like the last thing you tried and it worked.
it stems from like that whole vampires have a compulsive need to count. So anything
why
you
they're
could
called
do.
Like Count Dracula? Is that what it? Oh, all right.
No,
I'm just curious. Okay.
no, it's all this is essentially to keep them away till sunlight.
Gotcha.
Right. Some of the, things like garlic, a branch of hawthorn, or a wild rose
Okay.
are said to either harm them or at the very least deter them.
Garlic is another staple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a staple. of
You
the
put
vampire
garlic
story.
around your neck or something and it'll keep them away.
Exactly. Now, most vampires are said to only come out at night
Right.
to hunt. Right.
Right.
Now, there's a couple where, if you want to go into the more modern,
I don't.
day walkers and sparklies and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. What a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I didn't like that
It's
term
like,
for 'em.
oh boy.
I'd rather him
Yeah.
just be able to walk in the light.
No.
Have it that way.
That makes him
then-
not a vampire.
Yeah. But honestly, dude, it's impossible to know whether or not vampires truly existed.
Right.
Now I know there was this one, I believe he was a mathematician back in I think the 80s or the 90s. He did the math on this. And he said if there was one vampire, just one in
Yeah.
like 1700, and he had to kill one person, I think he said a week. And that one person turned into a vampire. By now, there wouldn't be any humans left on planet.
Well, you're assuming that he's just trying to change them over. What if he kills them?
Exactly. Well, his assumption was that when you are attacked by a vampire, you turn into a vampire.
That's
Kind of like when you get bit by a zombie, you turn into a zombie.
That's not a good assumption.
No, but still, it would make sense that
What if they rip your fucking head off and drink your blood?
true.
Then what?
Yeah, he didn't go into what happens
Right.
if they rip my arms off.
This
and
whole thing's full of holes.
use me like a fountain.
These
but
fucking
I'm putting
eggheads
it out there.
think
as
they
like
know
a-
everything.
Yeah. Well, the math would be,
Right. Like 9
exponential
billion.
growth.
Yeah, like
with-
9 billion vampires.
Yeah. Though I just thought I'd throw that in there. I thought that was kind of an interesting
Right. It
thing
is.
you put out there. But as long as we don't know if they ever existed or not. You also possible to tell whether or not any of these methods actually worked. Unless, of course, you came across a vampire and you just happen to have all the shit on hand.
I mean, unless you were like a hunter. Like you hunted them down. Which I
Yeah.
think was a real profession.
Oh, it
Probably at
was.
one point. Like kind of like our witch episode.
Yeah, I think there was
Where people were-
definitely like vampire hunters.
Yeah.
Is-
They would just falsely accuse people of being a fucking vampire. Dig up
Yeah,
their
like
fucking
the
bodies.
poor
and stuff.
albino man.
Yeah, like we said in the last episode, like they're digging up bodies and shit. And
Yeah, just
Burying
staking
them
them and then
ass
walking
up.
off with a bag full of coins.
yeah.
But then, unless if you happen to have a bag of rice,
Yeah.
and you run into a vampire, throw it on the ground. Let's see if he's compelled to count them all or not. Yeah.
You better fucking hope that he is.
If not, he's just going to look at you and get even more mad.
Yeah. Like, look at the fucking mess
Like,
you
you
made.
stereotyping me really in 2022?
Yeah. Who's gonna clean up this mess?
Yeah. Better
Yeah,
hope
that's
all,
just-
you better hope this rice absorbs all that blood I'm about to
Right.
about to
You could just also just expose them to sunlight.
Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays, I mean, you got UV lamps do the same thing.
Yeah, nowadays you could do that. Yeah. Which you again you see in the movies, them doing that.
Yeah, especially.
And then one of them he had like a UV grenade, which was pretty
It
cool.
was
Blade 3
Blade 3, yeah.
or 2.
I don't remember.
But
it was
still a
Blade
cool
2
idea.
because the sun or whatever was like a plague on the vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Like every vampire he bit turned into one of him.
Right. Yeah. That was the tentacle mouth.
I like that one, dude, because it had that scene of like they're chased down by dozens of them.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me like the Xenomorphs.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I do remember that because it's the dude that's in he was in not Reservoir Dogs. The one the fucking Irish guys and they shot everybody. The brothers. Boondock Saints. Yeah, because he was in Boondock Saints and he was in Walking Dead. Daryl, I think.
Oh yeah. What the hell's his name?
But he was in because I remember it.
He was
wearing a Hellboy
Skid.
shirt. Yeah.
He was. I think his name was Skid in that movie.
Yeah, he was wearing a Hellboy shirt, dude. I was like, "Fuck yeah," because I have that shirt. It's
honestly, dude, I've watched that movie a dozen times. I don't
BPRD.
remember him wearing a Hellboy shirt.
Yeah, it was awesome. Because I was like, "Wow, I have that same exact shirt, and now I can relate to this guy that is a really awesome inventor and kills vampires."
There you go.
Somehow, I'm relating to this man.
If this was ever real, me and him would hang out in real life.
That's all I got. It's all I got.
I do believe that is the vampires wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, there's still so much on this.
I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, we barely touched.
Dude, we're not scratching the surface. And
I mean,
we paraphrase a
haven't
lot of
touched,
this. Yeah.
Like a chunk of the books, a lot of the plays, a lot of movies.
I mean, just some of the lore by itself.
Yeah, I mean,
there's volumes of it. There's volumes of it.
Yeah, depending on the writer who you're looking up.
I think also the culture, too.
That too. Like, dude, like I said, like Africa has their own versions.
Yep.
The Asian continent has their own versions.
Europeans, of course.
Yep, Europeans. I want to say the Native Americans had their own. I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they had something similar.
One of everything.
Yeah, they had something similar. I'm sure, but there's still episodes and episodes and episodes you could do on this. I mean, how many?
Yeah, definitely.
Fucking books are there? You know what I mean?
Hundreds.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of them. You know. All right, everybody. Well, I guess that's part 2. Thanks for joining us. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Gamma Ray Podcast. Watch us on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm starting to get
waiting.
it. I'm starting to get it. It's sunk in now. It's sunk in now.
I haven't had to remind you in a while.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that we're up to date on all the videos.
Yeah, finally.
On all episodes. Took me a long ass time because you
having some trouble with them.
Fucking forever to upload anything to YouTube, especially video. Takes 1,000 fucking years. But again, just follow us on all those social medias. And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye, y'all.